On today's DNVR Broncos podcast, we are breaking down the changes that the Broncos need to make in order to have an even better week 2. Plus, we're diving into the Colts. How good are they really? Or are they legit? We're talking to our guy, Brian Baldinger, to answer all of those questions. Plus, we're going to hear from the Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Surtain, and it all starts now. Show talking Broncos with Baldy on the DNVR Broncos Podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores, presented by Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Place a $5 bet, deposit $10. You're gonna get $300 in bonus bets to get you going. And as Mile High Mem says in the Toyota chat, I'm so jacked. I'm so freaking fired up, ready to go, Henry.
I'm like 7 tweets behind responding to Mile High Mems.
Wow.
And I really appreciate every one of the tweets. But then every time there's one, I'm like, oh yeah, because I have the last one that I was going to get back to. And so I can't, my brain's over there. Palcho, very good though, to answer that first one.
There we go.
Yes.
You're 6 tweets behind responding to Mile High Mems. I can't wait to talk to Baldy on today's show. We got so much to talk about. But Henry, I just want to get a vibe check. How are you feeling 24 hours after the stadium news, after it's processed? You feeling better, worse? Where are you at right now?
Same. Again, I'm from a season ticket holder family.
Yeah.
And so new stadium is bad news for season ticket holders just because of the whole PSL thing.
We don't know officially if it's going to happen though.
Yeah, it would be a big shock. It would be a big shock.
Which is fair.
And I think, talking to my dad about what those numbers look like. Good for our seats, for example. So like when they sent the survey out last year, they gave season ticket holders, it was like, okay, there's 5 different options. If these are your 5 options for seats in the new stadium, which would you choose? It's like, here's the price per game, here's the PSL price, and here's where it is in the stadium. So like, here's the top corner or down by the side or whatever. And our current section, I think one of them, they said like PSL for this one, 12,500 per seat. The other one's like 15,000 per seat. So you just have to have those conversations, like at what point. And again, that's why it's good to take the money. It's good that the taxpayers don't have to pay. As a season ticket holder family member myself, I would prefer that everybody pays instead of just the season ticket holders pay. So there's a chance they don't. That's what the Patriots did in 2002. They privately funded. They didn't have PSLs. The Dolphins in '87 privately funded, no PSLs, but that's 2 of the 31 stadiums. Yeah. It's buckle up and figure out what we're gonna do. Time.
It's very fair. And man, I really hope that if box and suites are gonna be $100,000 PSLs.
Oh yeah.
I really don't feel too bad for those people. I just hope that, man, the people that have had the tickets for 20, 30, 40 years passed down through families.
Which is ours.
Can at least stay in the stadium. Man, $12,500. If that's what it is for lower bowl good tickets.
Right.
That's tough for a lot of people, but we'll see. We don't know exactly yet what's going to happen. You'll be surprised to know this. I mean, I fortunately don't have to buy tickets, so I'm not concerned myself for PSLs, but I also hope that it just doesn't happen. From what all the news we concretely know right now, you won't be surprised to know that I'm even more pumped than I was yesterday about this.
Wow.
I went down and visited Burnham Yard yesterday, and Henry, I'm just mind blown by a couple of things that this area, and we've got B-roll of it. You can see like it's fenced off with barbed wire, and it's just like a lot of it's a deserted area with just overgrown grass, train tracks that aren't being used anymore. There are some train tracks that are being used. There's a light rail that's being used. Buildings that aren't being used. Literally just like piles of rubbish and junk there. And with how prime of a location it is, I mean, we're talking it's a mile away from like the heart of downtown. You could easily walk to downtown in 20 minutes for there if there was like good pedestrian walkways. So I would hope that's something that the city kind of includes in this. But I'm shocked at one, how big it is with the Broncos being able to put a stadium there, and then they are going to be able to build a lot of stuff around it, which Kerry Walton-Penner said, which I think is a great thing. It's not just going to be parking lots, kind of like the stadium is now. And the second thing is just how such a great piece of land is just so unused. It's like this plot of land has just been sitting, waiting for a stadium to be built on.
Yeah, so I think so for 150 years it was a rail yard, which I don't know a lot about rail yards because it's 2025, not 1830. But I do know that was very important back in the day. And I think it got sold in 2015 to a different company. In 2019, they basically decided like, hey, this just isn't useful anymore. That's when the city bought it.
And then just put barbed wire up all around it.
Exactly. So because what else are you going to do? It's an interesting spot for a lot of reasons. So, for example, it itself is not a super fun site, but there's like the Denver Radium area super fund. It like kind of borders it. And at one point, like one of the pieces of land was part of the super fund, but it got cleaned, and so now it's good. But because it's in that area, they do have to do like all the testing, which is interesting to like make sure that when you mess with the ground that you don't have the gas come up.
Yeah,
which is why like
a good idea.
I'm pretty sure the Home Depot around there is on one of those sites, and essentially they paved over everything, and with like a few feet of like concrete, whatever, in the parking lot, nobody's gonna be digging in, nothing's gonna go, so it's good to go. And so there's that aspect of it, which is kind of interesting and shouldn't provide a problem at all. But what a weird thing to have to deal with.
Yeah.
There's also, for example, they're up to like 100 acres or so that they own, we believe. For reference, the Hollywood Park that Kroenke built around the Rams Stadium is about 300 acres. So it will be about a third of that size, which again, it's the difference. It's LA versus Denver and population centers. It's no big deal that it's not that big and they're continuing to buy. But you can kind of look at what that area looks like with the Rams and see what it looks like. And I think, so when the Cowboys built their stadium, they also built the Star, like the training complex. And that's kind of where they did all their developing. And that one's 91 acres. That's another one that you can kind of look at and be like, oh, so this is kind of what this is going to be like eventually.
Yeah, and it's great points of reference. I'll say being at SoFi once, the 300 acre one that you were talking about, there's just a lot of, I mean, I appreciate that there's a lake right next to the stadium. I don't need the Broncos to have a lake right next to the stadium.
Right.
So there's a lot of, I don't want to say wasted space because I love the outdoors, but like there's a lot of space that they're not using there. And for current reference, I believe current Empower Field at Mile High and all the parking lots and everything is about 80 acres. Yeah. So they currently have more room than that already and expected to add a little more. Obviously, it's probably not going to get to 300 acres. But I wouldn't be surprised if they land at like 150 or something like that and almost double where they are right now. And one of the things that I love that Kerry Walton-Penner said on one of the release videos, and then we'll move on to actual football talk in just a second, but is they're not just going to have a stadium with a bunch of parking lots around it.
Yeah.
And I love that. Now, I don't know what you're going to do with the parking. Maybe like 20-foot parking garage or 20-story parking garages. I have no idea.
Yeah, those are such a mess when everybody's coming and going at the same time.
Totally. I completely agree. Being selfish again, not leaving the game until like 5 hours after. I'm not too worried about that.
Nobody cares at all. Yeah.
But I'm sure, because I just kept thinking like, they're just going to have the best architects, the best designers, the best everything for this job. So I think it's going to, like I said, and like we said yesterday, and we know, it's going to be the best stadium that's ever been built in the entire world. Just like let that sink in. That's what the Broncos are going to get.
They should. And that's what it's all about. Again, like going back through, read the story because I got a little bit deeper into all this stuff, DNVR.com.
Yes.
In particular, looking back to that survey they sent out to season ticket holders, or 2 surveys, one for ticket holders, one just for fans to fill out and kind of give their thoughts. Like, what are the 5 most important things to you? It's a list of 20 options, including things like ample parking or public transportation options or walkability. And it's one of those things where you can kind of just pick one of those 3, or two of those three. You don't get to have all of them. And so there's some things where it's like, yeah, you can just add great Wi-Fi to a stadium and you're good to go. But there are a lot of these decisions that they're going to have to make. Again, how much premium seating? Where do you put it? You know, I think some of these new stadiums, SoFi, they have like the field level premium. So you're kind of like either right behind the bench or you're like right in the end zone. Do the Broncos lean into that? Or do they say, hey, those are the premium seats, the clubs, those are the quietest parts of the stadium. Don't put those right next to the field. Let's stick to the way they do it in most stadiums and put them right up above that first level. And so there's all these little decisions that have to be made. The city of Denver says the small area plan for this, 100 acre. I think theirs said 56 acres. Broncos have more than that. They hope to have that done by the end of next year. And I'd imagine you can kind of start thinking stadium over the course of these next 14 months if you're the Broncos, on top of the small area plan, which says, here's what we're going to do for transportation, or here's what section of the land we're zoning for whatever use. And so hopefully, it could be within 18 months, I'd guess we get some sort of rendering of the stadium.
Yep.
And we'll start to see what they decided on all these little things that'll really define what the Broncos home is for so long.
Yeah, and we typically save super chats for the end, but this one fits right into our conversation. Pure Lapine says 300 acres is almost half a square or half a mile square of real estate. That is a lot of land right there. So Broncos going to build world-class stadium with a really cool area around it. Let us know in the Twitter chat. And if you're listening later, let us know what you think. Are you still a fan of it? And if you're not, let us know why. All right, Henry, we're talking about changes that the stadium's going to bring. Let's talk about changes that this football team needs to make in order to be better. I would imagine most changes that we're going to talk about are on the offensive side of the ball. Is that fair to say?
Probably, yeah.
After having the NFL's best defense in week 1, and yes, that is now official. The Broncos, technically, when you talk about defense, I don't really like this, but technically when you talk about rankings in defense, it goes by yards. And same with offense, it goes by yards. So the Broncos didn't give up the fewest points, but they did give up the fewest yards. I'm a points guy because that's what wins and loses you games. But the NFL goes by yards, so we can officially say the Broncos had the best defense in the NFL this past week, giving up 133 yards. So the changes mostly to the offensive side. And if I say you get to change one thing for this game, Henry, what is it? We'll talk about more, but your top thing to change.
Could I say Nate Adkins comes back?
Yeah.
Can that count?
Sure.
Yeah. If Nate Adkins is there, your running game's awesome.
Wow.
I think it goes to that point. I think there's so many runs that were so close to working, and you're just like, it's one block away. And I hate piling on guys, but Lucas Kroll, he's not a blocker. And part of that is he was a baseball player, converted to football, has the athleticism, the size, and I think fits this scheme well in a lot of ways. You need to have the guy who just lines up and wins his block every time. And if they would have had that last week, what were they at? 5 yards per carry?
Yep.
I bet they're 6. I think there's enough in there that they get to 6. So if I'm allowed to choose Nate Adkins exists again, that's what I choose. If it has to be tight ends figure out how to block without Nate, then that's the other way to put it.
Maybe tight ends figure out how to block without Nate, and you might not have Evan Ingram. We'll find out later today. Make sure to stay tuned to social media.
Maybe receivers want to block a little bit too would be fun. It'd be a little bit of a twist from last week.
Yeah, and Henry, because obviously the number one thing you want to change is you say, Bo, don't turn the ball over.
Right.
Okay, that's a little too simplistic here, and so we'll kind of put those to the side. So for me, it comes down to the running game as well, Henry, because the running game, 150 yards on 30 carries, and it's still for 3/4 of the game. It's man, can we run the ball more? Can we run the ball better? Yet you still end up with that. So when you point to Nate Adkins and say, man, he'd give you an extra yard per carry, that gets me fired up. Now we're talking 180 yards.
Right.
And then what also gets me fired up is for 3/4, the running game was kind of bad, non-existent. What if it's as good as it was in the fourth quarter and you committed as much to the run in the first half as you do the second half? Bo's probably not throwing two picks. He may not be throwing any picks in this game. The whole game is different. So I want Sean, I think this falls on Sean, to one, call the game differently right out of the gate. And then two, the personnel has to be different. Look, I like Tyler Bidet. I do.
Okay.
I think he is an NFL running back. But Henry, what are we doing in the first half trying to get Tyler Badie 6 touches? I mean, I think they threw the ball to him 5 times, and it did not work. What are we doing getting a third running back involved? Sean Payton does not do that. When he has 2-star guys, which, and when I mean stars, I'm talking about J.K. Dobbins and RJ Harvey. Those fit into that category in terms of like just high-profile running backs. He goes with those guys 96% of the time on snaps in the past. This time he just like went completely out of the book and put Tyler Badie in there, and it didn't work. I want more RJ Harvey, more J.K. Dobbins from the start of the game. My last point on this is the Broncos started the game in their first 17 plays, 14 passes, 3 runs.
Yeah,
let's keep it more balanced. We don't need Bo Nix to go out and win MVP this week.
Totally. And I think so. The Badie thing, I don't think the plan was let's get him the ball a lot. The plan was he's our third down running back. He's the guy when we're in shotgun who we trust to protect, leak out, run a route. And there were a couple plays where it really worked. There were more plays where I kind of put him in the Bo Nix category of he was super amped up. He hasn't been this big of a part of a game plan probably since he was at Missouri playing with Drew Lock, which is fun to think about. But it didn't go well for him. He had the drop. He didn't get his head around quick enough another time. I agree. I think you narrow it down to 2 running backs this week. And if for some reason you need to sub him in, maybe he's your second, third down back. You've been riding JK a lot. JK needs to come out. But I agree. I do that. And then when it comes to the run-pass split, Bo Nix was checking out of a lot of run plays.
Yeah.
And so, and that doesn't mean Bo made a mistake by doing that. It means that when you get this look, you check into the pass. And so I think the Titans kind of dictated that. Now, one way you get away from that is say, we want to run the ball here. We're not going to say, if you load the box, we're not going to. We're just going to line up heavier ourselves, bring in Alex Palshevsky like they did a lot late in the game, bring him in and say, you know what? We don't care if you're heavy. We're also heavy. And so we want to run the ball. We will run the ball. I wonder if that's a change they make.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins is a guy that I would trust on third down, and I believe Sean Payton trusts on third down. So that just... Right. It really confused me. And yeah, a lot of Palcho. I think people midway through the game were like, what's up with all this Palcho stuff? That's just who Sean Payton's going to be with the Denver Broncos.
He uses the jumbo package more than anybody.
Yep.
I think it was mostly Parrott last year who did that.
I believe so. Yep.
Which is interesting that they made that change.
It is, yeah.
And also, while we're on the topic, Frank Crum listed as their second right tackle. He was inactive, so it is just Palcho. Both guard spots, right tackle, Parrott backup, left tackle, Forsythe at center.
Yep, I love it. Okay, let's now transition to the Colts. And before we transition to the Colts, I want to tell you about an awesome company. Henry, this is a company I used to work for.
Really?
The Gold
I had no
Crown
idea.
Foundation. It's an awesome company. If you know Bill Hanslick, you know about the Gold Crown Foundation. And if you grew up playing basketball in Colorado, chances are you played in the Gold Crown Competitive Basketball League. Today's league, it's divisions for 4th to 8th graders. They've got feeder teams with gold, silver, and bronze. They've got club teams, elite, and open, and not only play in high school gyms, but also at the Gold Crown Fieldhouse, where I've been many times. It's a fantastic facility, and now's the time to find a team in your area. Tryout pages are on their website, or you can check with your local schools, and you can check on their website by going to goldcrownfoundation.com. Learn more and sign up by scanning the QR code on the screen or going to goldcrownfoundation.com. Really, really cool thing what they've got doing. If you want to sign yourself or student up or your kid up, go to goldcrownfoundation.com.
And shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has the best deals on tickets. They also have the best interface for buying tickets. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're Broncos fans here, though, so we're going to look at some Broncos seats. Cheapest game on the schedule, Week 18 against the Chargers. Now, I get it's going to be cold at that time. They don't know whether it's going to be on the Saturday or the Sunday, but still.
You don't know if it's going to be a game or not.
Right, but you would imagine this is going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if this is Sunday Night Football that week.
Oof.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the big game of the week.
Oof.
At the very least, it should be for a playoff spot. Could be for the division. Chiefs have the Eagles this week, and if the Eagles beat the Chiefs, Broncos beat
start off
the Colts.
0-2.
All of a sudden, you got two game lead. I don't know. $72. So buy some tickets to that, but also next home game, girlfriend's going, Cincinnati Bengals. All sorts of good stuff. They make it easy. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code DNVR. $20 off. Tap ticket. Go download the Game Time app today.
I want to give a shout out to everyone that's tuning in with us. We really appreciate it, live or after the fact. Hit us with the thumbs up again, live or after the fact, and make sure to become a big brother or a big sister.
Yes.
This month is Big Brother Big Sister month, and we want to get as many people to sign up to become bigs as possible. It's an awesome way to give back to the community and have a true impact on one person. So you can click the link in our description in order to give back to Big Brothers Big Sisters. And also shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Place a $5 bet after depositing $10. After using that code DNVR365, you can get $300 in bonus bets just like that. And shout out to all of the Supporters Club members that we've got rocking and rolling in the chat as well. It's great to see that little badge by you, knowing that you support us even extra beyond just watching this show. Hit us with some of those custom emojis. Let's get some LFBs in here. And Henry, let's look at the Colts right now. Are they for real? Because the Colts have been in a quarterback turmoil for a while. They brought in Daniel Jones. He ends up winning the job. Not a lot of hype around him. And then they go out in week 1 and have the most dominant performance of anyone in the NFL. I think that's safe to say. Yeah, one by the most. I mean, they had something crazy. They are the first team in like 40 years to score on every single one of their possessions. Just think about that. The Broncos have had Peyton Manning. Tom Brady's been in the league. Patrick Mahomes has been in the league. This also includes like the Dan Marino, John Elway era as well. And the Indianapolis Colts, with their quarterback of Daniel Jones, just did this that hasn't been done in 40 years. That's kind of crazy. And then the other thing, they didn't allow the Miami Dolphins to score a single point until the fourth quarter when it was garbage time. I think they ended up winning 33-8 or something like that. It blew my mind, and I'm going to give you credit. You picked the Colts to win that division.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah, you should. It blew my mind.
Especially Texans lost with a tough game this week, too.
Yeah.
There's a chance.
It blew my mind, not because I didn't think the Colts were bad. I certainly didn't think they were like this good. It blew my mind just how dominant they were. Yeah. I also think really quick the Dolphins are terrible, but.
And so there's a lot going on here, which is why week 1 you can't read too much into it. In some ways, there are almost no lessons here. But the big lesson is this. So if you're the Dolphins, you give up a field goal drive on the first possession, you're down 3-zip. You throw an interception, you give up a touchdown drive, it's 10-zip. You fumble, you give up a short field touchdown, it's 17-zip. The game is over.
Yes.
And so while there's a lot of like, oh, look at this, oh, look at that, oh, look, like the story of the game was...
The game's over unless you have Caleb Williams as your quarterback. Then you can blow that one.
Apparently. That is a lot of fun. But there's one major lesson here, and then maybe you want to like dig for others, which is a lame way sometimes to look at a game. But the big lesson is just... Don't let the Colts go up 17-zip right away. Don't just hand them the game right away.
That's
I think because the game went that way, for example, another small lesson you could take is that the Dolphins really ran the ball well. Like they ran all over them. I think Devon Achane was 7 for 55, so just under 8 yards per carry.
Why does he only have 7 carries?
Well, because you're down 17-zip and you got to throw the football. And so there's your answer. And so you found the thing that you do well, but it just doesn't matter. And he did it running that like wide zone stuff. I think maybe every one of his touches was a zone run, which bodes really well for the Broncos. And it was a little boomer bust, but that's running the football in the NFL in 2025. I think because of that, all of a sudden there goes half your offense. The interceptions. I think their defense did a good job. You have to give them credit. First play, first interception, Tua just overthrows the receiver, throws it right to a DB, and there you go. Yeah. Second one, they drop Latu in coverage, big old number 97, and Tua doesn't see him drifting underneath down the middle. He picks it off. That's a nice play call. You know, it's the stuff we talk about that Jim Leonard brings to the Broncos, kind of those simulated pressures, dropping edge rushers, dropping defensive linemen, catch them off guard. And so you give him credit for the scheme there. But I didn't come away from this saying Colts defense is really good, as much as the Dolphins just made some mistakes, couldn't do what they were good at. For some reason, the Dolphins refused to run receivers deep. There were no deep routes. They came into the game thinking, we're the Dolphins. They'll be scared of the deep ball. They'll respect it. We'll have stuff open underneath. They had nothing open underneath because there was no threat downfield. And so there's a lot of these just like Colts defensive coaches versus Dolphins offensive coaches. Big gap. Tua Tagovailoa handing the game away. Big gap. The tackles were awful. They gave up a sack to a safety on a blitz, gave up a strip sack to a corner on a blitz. The tackles didn't see it coming. Tua didn't see it coming. And you give credit, like they called the plays the right time to Tua's blindside, whatever. That the Dolphins offense sucked so bad. I can't say that I learned a lot about the Colts defense.
I completely agree. And Henry, I'm going to go double on that because I'm going to flip it to the other side of the ball. The Dolphins are such a bad football team. And it's crazy how much they have crumbled since they destroyed the Broncos 70-20. Just think about that. The direction the Dolphins have gone compared to the direction the Broncos have gone since that 50-point loss the Broncos had just a couple of years ago. And the Dolphins are definitely in the mix to be the worst team in the NFL this year and potentially be in the Arch Manning conversation, or the number one quarterback in the draft conversation. And so the Colts, you got to give them credit, though. They saw a wounded animal and they jumped on it.
Just kept stabbing and stabbing and stabbing, and it was already dead.
They did exactly that in week one. Now, what I will give Colts credit for is, man, Daniel Jones is a really good fit in that offense and what they want to do. So I'm not surprised at the least that they went with him over Anthony Richardson. We've seen Daniel Jones play good football at times. He's just not consistent, not week by week, not year by year. So just because he had a good game this past week doesn't mean he's going to have a good game this week. He still could have a good game. You have Jonathan Taylor still, who when healthy, when good, he's elite. He, although wasn't elite this past week, they didn't really need to rely on him, and they didn't rely on him. He just had 70 rushing yards. But there's one guy, man, one of my favorite guys in this past draft. I'm feeling pretty confident that I put my stamp of approval on Tyler Warren. Because after 1 week, Henry, that's like the guy they want to feature in their offense. Not Jonathan Taylor, not Michael Pittman, not Quentin Nelson. It's Tyler Warren who they want to feature, and that's a tight end. That is a true joker, and that can give any defense problems. That's the only, I shouldn't say that's the only guy, because Jonathan Taylor's good.
Michael Pittman.
I'm not concerned about Michael Pittman. Against this team. Against this team. This game going to come down to the front seven, I guess. Just not getting killed in the run game, just not getting killed by Tyler Warren. I think that's the key right there.
Right.
Don't get killed by those two guys.
And I think, again, when you watch that game against the Dolphins, it's fun to watch it through the lens of, so Shane Steichen's the head coach, who is the offensive coordinator in Philly.
Yep.
So if you picture the whole thing as Philly's offense, then you can kind of see exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Because it's Daniel Jones playing the Jalen Hurts part. It's Michael Pittman playing the A.J. Brown part. And so, like, early on, the scripted plays, like, they have this read option. So if I'm the quarterback, you have the tight end on your right side. You have the receiver, Michael Pittman, right behind the tight end. And then you have Jonathan Taylor right next to you. So you got all three guys stacked up right there. And so what do? There's a little motion. You know it's man coverage. And so Pittman has his guy lined up across from him. Snap the ball, little read option, but it's a pre-snap read. It's super easy. Since they're playing man, you're leaking Pittman across the formation. Easy little pass. There's like a pick set by the receiver on that side, and he's just off and running. Yep. It's all those little design plays that get guys running the ball early. Or like things like, I think in the second drive, they had two different plays where they were empty with four receivers on one side, one receiver on the other. If you're the Dolphins defense, how many times when you're talking about your cover 3 rules have you talked about, oh, here's what we're going to do if they line up with 4 wide receivers split out to the side? Right. And it's like, you should still know the answers, but you're really testing them to know those answers right away in week 1. And it's just good design. I think a lot of it comes down to, similar to like watching Boise State last year, where late in the year, you're just like, oh, that Maddox Madsen quarterback, he's getting hot. He looks pretty good. Like, he knows what he's doing. Well, it's because at that point, there's 9 guys in the box trying to stop Genty. Right. It's just one-on-ones on the boundary. It makes it super, super easy. And that's the exact same thing here where you just suck him in with Jonathan Taylor. Same thing they did with Saquon. Fun part, again, that's where Daniel Jones really thrives. That's where he thrived in the past, too. His one good year, the one year they went to the playoffs, the year that got him paid, was the year that Saquon Barkley played every single game and had his best year in New York.
Yep.
And it's loading everything up, makes it easy. And credit to him because he's making a bunch more calls at the line of scrimmage, and spending time with Kevin O'Connell last year must have helped. Spending time with Shane Steichen, who seems to be a pretty good quarterback coach. Again, Anthony Richardson being his own little thing. I think this offense isn't perfect. It might not be diverse. But if you think about it as the young Eagles offense, then you can really see what the whole thing's all about. And they were, I mean, remember when they came here and beat the Broncos?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't the Saquon version, but it was a good team.
Yeah, no, Henry, that's a great way to look at this offense as maybe a little diluted Eagles offense, but don't sleep on Tyler Warren. Don't sleep on Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman, a really good receiver. Not elite, but the Broncos aren't going to sleep on him. He'll get some Pro Bowls,
but he's not. It's no surprise if he doesn't.
Exactly. So, man, I love this comparison. We're going to continue to dive into them, talking to our guy, Brian Baldinger. Before, though, I need to give a shout-out to our friends over at Bet365, where if you use the code DNVR365 when you sign up over at Bet365, deposit $10, place a $5 bet, and new customers are going to get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose on that bet. Get the app now. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and download the app right now because Bet365's got it all for you. They're all about never ordinary. So they've got so many different bets, but let's just say you also want to be ordinary and just take the Broncos to win this game. It's almost a pick'em game. Right now, Broncos, I've seen them fluctuate between 0.5 point and 2 point favorites.
I wish I knew what it was last week. I'm curious how the weekend changed things.
Yeah. Maybe went a little closer to the Colts,
You
would think so. Over under 43.5. So if you think there's going to be some points scored, you can take the over. If you don't think there's going to be points scored, you can take the under. Plus, so many other bets, including we've got Thursday night football tomorrow night. Commanders, Packers, Green Bay, 3.5 point favorite. If you want to get in on all of this, go to Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Must be 21 and older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
And shout out to our friends at Ent Credit Union. Ent Credit Union's the best. Like I said, every day I get to drive in here, just drive right past their big Pat Surtain mural, which is a lot of fun. They're big Broncos fans. That's why they do the mural. That's why they've set up the Broncos checking account, because as the official banking partner of the Denver Broncos, they want to make an account just for fans like us. There's no surprise fees. There's no minimum balance requirements. The money in your account even earns dividends. So it's a great account, but then you also get all the Broncos perks like 10% off food and gear on game days at Empower Field at Mile High, Broncos branded debit card to rep the team, and a chance to win tickets to a Broncos home game. Every time you swipe your card 15 times, you make 15 purchases, you get one more entry into their drawing for free Broncos tickets. So if you're ready to bank like a Bronco, go to ent.com/DNVR. That's ent.com/DNVR. Sign up for Broncos checking today.
We've got our guy, Brian Baldinger, the legend, joining us. No one breaks down film across the NFL like Baldy does. So I just got to dive right into the big conversation the Broncos Country is having after week one, Baldy. Is there any reason to worry about Bo Nix after that week one performance, or was it just a bad game that he had?
I wouldn't put it all on him. I mean, he could play better. He did in the second half, but I thought the guys around him had to play better. I thought the receivers had to be better. They didn't run the ball well in the first half. The turnovers, the turnovers are bad. I mean, the average starting field position for Tennessee was the 41-yard line. They're not going to win the division if they give the opponents the average starting field position of the 41. They woke up in the fourth quarter, and they looked like, a good football team in the fourth quarter. Thankfully, the defense showed up all day, and they smothered that football team.
Yeah, the defense did look incredible. I think that defensive front, I was a little bit nervous because, they had 9 more sacks than any other team in the NFL last year, which you would look at and say that's not sustainable. Well, now they're on pace for 102 sacks this season. So can we just look at this and say, yep, defensive front just as good as last year. They're going to be – they should lead the NFL in sacks again.
they're as good as anybody right now. You know, you bring in Jonah Ellis, you know, Benito goes take a breather. I mean, you know, they just have workhorses up front. And look, this thing all marries together with the coverage. I mean, Vance Joseph runs as many 5-man, you know, rush pressures as any team in this league. And so they have no fear. Now, a lot of teams don't want to do that because at some point you're going to be man-to-man on some receiver back there, and they get a little nervous. They don't have that fear. And so that helps. And the linebackers, you know, Hufanga makes a big difference back there. You know, that's a guy that can stop big plays. He's going to – the play ends when he hits you. Like, that makes a difference. But I think every single guy up there, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, you know, I mean, all the guys up there believe that they can win one-on-ones, and they did. And so they got after Cam Ward. He was resilient. The kid just kept firing all the way to the end, kept him in the game. But the defense, I don't know. Did they have 130 yards of offense in the game? I don't think they did.
Yep. It was exactly 133. So you were spot on there, Baldy. And the Titans had 131 penalty yards, which is just crazy. That's how you become the number one overall draft pick.
The penalty yards are a result of, you know, you commit penalties for the most part because you're out of position. So the offensive tackles were awful. That's a function of the pass rush and the guys they're going against. There were they were constantly 1st and 20, you know, and so that's just a hard hole to dig out of. You know, when you really take the run away from that team and you're so behind the sticks, it just makes it really, really tough.
Yeah, it's a great point. And Baldy, one of the guys you just mentioned, Talanoa Hufanga, you had an incredible Baldy's breakdown on him. I got to get your thoughts on what he brings to this defense, what he looked like in the first week. And then another guy that the Broncos signed from the 49ers who didn't play, when Dre Greenlaw's back in this defense. Just how does he elevate what looks to be an already elite defense? Well,
I always say this. When your middle linebacker is fast, your defense looks fast. And Dre Greenlaw is fast. I mean, he covers a lot of ground, whether he's in man coverage, whether he's chasing a play, like that guy, and he gets there usually in a pretty angry mood. Like he'll improve just the way Hufanga did in the back end. I mean, if your safety, like Tennessee safety, if your safeties miss tackles, you give up big plays. You either give up big plays or you give up touchdowns, one or the other. And Hufanga is so aggressive yet doesn't miss tackles. Like, he's just not diving out there. Like, he's running into people. The forced fumble, like, he just, you know, I mean, he came and he just destroyed, I think it was Pollard, but, you know, it might have been Chestnut, whoever. But, I mean, he just destroyed him. The ball pops out, you know, and there's Brandon Jones on top of it. That's a big play. But he could do that on any play. Like, I think he's a takeaway magnet, the way a lot of those guys back there are. But he fits right in that culture back there.
I want to talk about the Colts a little bit because I'm curious what you saw from them. A weird game, go up 17-zip early because of the turnovers. What are the lessons that you feel like you learned about the Colts from that 33-8 win against the Dolphins?
Well, you know, they have a new defense coordinator in Lou Anarumo. And so, you know, it was 30-0, you know, in the third quarter. And Lou came from Cincinnati, but he had no players. Like, when he had good players, they went to a Super Bowl. And they were within a couple yards of winning a Super Bowl. Lou is a talented coach. Like, he really gives you a lot to really prepare for, to think about. You know, Tua had no idea that he was getting hit from the blind side twice early in that game. You know, and then the interception, I mean, you wouldn't think that, you know, your star pass rusher is going to drop into coverage and get into lane and take the ball away like he did. But you're going to get a lot of different looks. You're going to get 3-man rushes. You'll get, you know, a lot of twist stunts. They're very, very good up front. They got a lot of highly drafted players there. You know, and then they've got guys that were off the street that are, you know, happy to be playing. Xavier Howard was on the street for a long time. He got signed and he made a difference, recovered a fumble. So it's a blend. And then offensively, I thought Shane Steichen called one of his best games because Daniel Jones has had problems in his first 6 years in New York reading coverage. And it was paint. It was like basically, you know, paint by numbers. It was like, okay, here's a half field read. This is the coverage you're getting. You go to Tyler Warren here. You get this coverage and they double Tyler Warren. Then you go to Pittman down here for a touchdown. I mean, he really made it. He really simplified it. I'm not taking anything away from Daniel Jones, but that's the best game I've seen him play in years. and he really didn't make any mistakes. But it was the picture that got painted because of how they attacked the defenses of Miami, especially that secondary. It made it pretty easy for him just to hit that back step and let it fly. It was very impressive.
So then, Baldy, who's responsible for throwing Daniel Jones off when it comes from the Broncos? Is that interior pass rush, the edge guys, Vance Joseph making it more complicated? How do you make it so it's not easy for Daniel Jones to paint a picture?
Okay, so the first thing you do is you try to take the number one read away. Whether it's by formation or down and distance, or Tyler Warren was a part of that offense from the very beginning, but he's also an excellent blocker. But he kind of got them jump started. He's a tremendous target. They do a lot of things to get him free, like a good tight end does. But I would say if you could take the first read away and make Daniel Jones, because when you go from your first read to your second read to your third read, if you get fortunate enough because your protection is good enough, your feet better move with your eyes. And Daniel Jones has struggled with that in the past. He struggled with resetting his feet, and then he gets I'm not going to say lazy, but he becomes more inaccurate when he doesn't move his feet and prepare like that. And so if you take the first read away and you get Daniel Jones to go to a second read, let's see how accurate he is on the second read when, Denver has all that, all those playmakers in the secondary that are just looking to take the ball away.
What do you think the Broncos do coverage-wise? It's interesting because, to me, you have to put Pat on Michael Pittman. Like, he's a true number one receiver. Is there any thought, though, to saying Tyler Warren looks like a threat in the middle of the field? Do you bump him inside and let the other guys play on the boundary?
That's a great question because I've seen Pat, on Brock Bowers last year. And, I don't think just because the size. I mean, I was around Tyler Warren at his pro day in Penn State this year. He's a big dude, man. He's a big, tough kid. And, you saw on the short yardage situation, he just takes it on 3rd and 1 and just pushes the pile. He takes the snap. But it's a consideration for sure. It's a very small sample size. It's one game. So I'm not sure Vance kind of has figured them out yet. Maybe he does from past performances by Shane Steichen and what he has done. But they've never had a player like that in Indianapolis since, Dallas Clark. So it's been a while. But I would think Patrick, just, knowing Patrick, give him to me, coach. I got him. He would want that assignment in key situations.
Baldy, kind of along those lines. Well, actually, going a different route. With the Broncos' next 4 games, Indianapolis, then they play the Chargers on the road, then the Bengals at home on Monday night, and then the Eagles. So I'm not trying to disrespect the Colts. I think they're a good football team. But when I look at those next 4 games, I think this is the easiest among those. Am I still sleeping on the Colts a little too much with that? Or is this actually the Broncos' easiest? I want to put it in quotes because I still don't think it's easiest game of the next 4.
Well, I mean, look, they couldn't run the ball at all in the first 3 quarters of the game. I mean, that's got to change. Now they got a rhythm, and RJ hit one, they got going there in the 4th quarter, but I mean, they weren't moving the line of scrimmage. Now, I would say that Jeffrey Simmons is a beast, but so is DeForest Buckner. Their front is really good. Latu is way more than just a pass rusher. That guy's a fundamentally sound football player. Zaire Franklin, he's going to get you 140 tackles a year. They got to do a much better job up front, against Indianapolis, because they got to get the running game cranking. A lot of things get fed off of that. The play action, the bootlegs, and that kind of thing. So I would say that that's priority. But, yes, in theory, well, not in theory, after just the first week, Indianapolis isn't what Cincinnati's offense is, although Cleveland shut them down completely. Yeah. Philadelphia didn't score a point in the last 20 minutes of the game against Dallas. They didn't, the Chargers opened things up, in Brazil. They have a real passing game right now, and credit them. But this will not be an easy assignment, I don't believe. I mean, I feel like this is going to be a very stubborn test for Denver. But defensively, they have everything it takes, to keep that score at 17 points or less.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to go back to the offensive line. There was more of the wide zone rushing, which is something we had expected based on what they're doing in training camp. I thought the Dolphins hit a couple big runs against the Colts with Devon Achane using that wide zone, but kind of had to get away from it because they're down by so much in the game. What's your update on kind of the wide zone rushing with the offensive line? Do you like what you see? Do you think they're on the right track? Are there some issues there structurally still?
Well, it kind of depends on how it's being coached. When Mike Shanahan was there and Alex Gibbs was the offensive line coach in Denver, nobody coached that play better than Alex Gibbs. Everybody learned from Alex. And I've been to practice when Alex is coaching. It wasn't friendly at all. Yeah. There is very hard specifics. And some of it is, are you athletic enough to do this stuff? I like a mix of it. I like the wide zone. There's a lot of things you can do off of it. I think RJ Harvey is going to be, and I think JK are both good runners in a wide zone. I believe they can put their foot in the ground and find the daylight when you stretch it. But I also like power. I want to see Quinn, pulling and knocking, just hitting somebody with some chin music right there, knocking them back. I want to see some of that too. So I think there's a place for a healthy blend in a power running game. And then I'm not saying the wide zone is finesse. It isn't, but there is some athletic ability that's required for that to be really good. Because if you're not cutting off these three techniques and you're not stretching them and getting them on their skates and running with them and they're upfield, like the thing doesn't stretch, like the thing cuts back. And so it's, DeForest Buckner is a problem when you run that play.
And Baldy, final football question for you. In a week from now, are we talking about a 2-0 Broncos team or a 500 1-1 Broncos team?
Well, I mean, if they take care of the football, I think they're 2-0. But I mean, you give it up 4 times in a game, you're not going to win many of them. You're not going to get a rookie quarterback, that's making his first start. You're not going to get any of that. And the offensive line in Indianapolis, I believe, is much better than Tennessee's. You won't get the penalties that they got the other day. So, I mean, if they take care of the football, that's the first play. Without being, with still being aggressive with the ball, then I feel like they should come back 2-0.
Yep, I agree. We hope you're right. Final one really quick, Baldy. Did you have an injury to your pinky while playing football?
Yes.
That looks like it's bent in the wrong direction.
I think it's never been in the right direction.
Yep.
I've been going like that now for better part of like 40-something years. Now that's my signature. Yeah, that's not getting fixed anytime soon.
That is something else, man.
Offensive lineman play right there. Yes.
Man, that is why I did not play offensive.
Well, that reminds me. So, end of Quinn Minor's rookie year, I was talking to him. It was like locker cleanout day. I was like, "Do you ever think about the injuries? Do you ever think about like what this could do to your body long term?" It's like, you know what? If I have a couple fingers like Baldy, I'll be just fine with that. Yep.
Yeah. God bless Quinn, man. He's a perfect meathead, man, and I say that with all due respect to what I think is a great player.
Well, Baldy, all due respect to you. We love having you on. Can't wait to talk to you this coming weekend.
Next week.
Let's go. All right. There's the legend Baldy joining us. Yeah, he flashed his hand a couple of times, and I was like,
"Oh yeah, it's always been like that." Yeah,
but
it goes
not
the wrong
always
way.
since football.
Right.
Yeah,
isn't genetic.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is. They can't pop it back into place.
Yeah, I think it's too much of like a brand to.
That's an incredible brand to have there. Okay, Henry, let's continue this conversation and actually hear from the Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Surtain. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Taco Bell, where I hope you enjoyed Taco Tuesday, but don't stop the celebration there. Continue it on Wednesday throughout the weekend as well. And if you want Taco Bell, they've got their Y2K menu back, and we're talking about Taco Bell's decade menu, and we're talking about a menu that features favorites like the Cool Ranch Doritos Locos Taco, the Caramel Apple Empanada, which you tried, the Chili Cheese Burrito, the 7-layer burrito, and the one I tried, the Double Decker Taco, all for $3 or less. I know that just made me hungry right now. You can also get the $7 Buffs box if you're really hungry, which is going to include 4 Taco Bell classics and a collected CU player cup. And another cool thing, about Taco Bell. They're supporting CU Athletics. Every touchdown that the Buffs scored this year, they're giving $1,000 to the Golden Buff Scholarship Foundation. Live Mas at Taco Bell.
And shout out to Toyota. We do the show from the Toyota Lounge. You guys are hanging out in the Toyota chat. Obviously, they're big supporters of ours, and that's why we really hope that you guys will support them too. They have all sorts of awesome options if you're in the market for a new vehicle, including the Tacoma, the Land Cruiser, things that can get you off the road, onto the trails, or if you're doing some hauling. All sorts of awesome options if you're looking for something like a hybrid, low emission, zero emission vehicles. They've got all sorts of different options, including the Tundra iForce Max Hybrid truck. 17 miles with available all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. You can visit your Front Range Toyota stores, the location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL, and the official vehicle of DNVR.
And
Let's go places.
And speaking of the Toyota, shout out to the Toyota chat. It's been popping off. Lot of positive comments about having Baldy on. We love him. I'm glad you guys love him too. But hit us with a thumbs up to show us that support and show Baldy that support. And speaking of, I want to give some shout outs. We got Kano says, Baldy is a legend. Jade Lutz, who's a member of the Supporters Club, says you have to re-break your fingers in order to fix them. No thanks. Okay, I understand that.
That's why my nose is still crooked.
It just never...
Yeah, I'd have to break it again.
Because mine might be able to take care of that for you.
He would love to, but he's not a doctor. Because it broke a few times, which is why it has like a hook because they're different bends. So you have to break it up into a bunch of little pieces and just not worth it.
Oh my goodness.
Just not worth it.
Bad Moon says, love Baldy, man. We love you all as well. Henry, just what he's saying about the turnovers, it's like the most simplistic thing, but every time I think about, man, the Broncos had 4 turnovers and still beat a team, the first thing I think of is, thank goodness they were playing the Titans, because maybe any other team in the NFL, or maybe if the Titans just catch, they're not as fortunate. But then also, to have 4 turnovers and win a game, that's also encouraging for like the team you could become. Now, you have to knock those turnovers down to 1 or 0 in order to compete with the Bengals, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Eagles.
The Colts.
Yeah, I mean, if they have 4 turnovers against the Colts, it's done. 3, you're probably not winning. They have 2 turnovers against the Colts. I can see the Broncos turning Daniel Jones over 1 or 2 times, and it can be a game. But yeah, you have to cut that from 4 to 2, just like that. Now, an encouraging thing, I don't think we're going to see Bo Nix have a 2-interception game anytime soon. I also don't think we may ever see Marvin Mims, and I'm going to touch wood here, but I don't think we're ever going to see Marvin Mims drop another kick. That's just so uncharacteristic. I did touch wood there. And so I don't see it happening again. But man, it also speaks to, so you're concerned about like 4 turnovers, but then if you view it from the other side, you're just like, man, this team can be really good if they don't beat themselves.
Yeah. You just can't do that. Again, it's Marvin. Marvin just needs to run. And it's a lesson that he learned and the entire receiver room learned. I'm sure they've talked all about it. The second one...
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
Talked all about it.
The second one, there are little lessons like, Troutman needs to be quicker to go help and make that block. Like, that's his responsibility to help when the edge drops. Don't just leave Bulls on an island with Jeffrey Simmons. Help him out. But also, if you're Bo, just because you're pressured, live to see another down. Don't try to force a ball to where there was no chance of a completion. Just throw the ball away. It would have been 3rd and 4. You get another shot at it. And there's all these little things. Everybody on the team has plenty of things that they can work on individually. J.K. Dobbins, there are a couple tackles he could have broken. The list goes on and on and on. But with Bo, that's obviously the big one. That's your quarterback. And when it comes to turnovers, he has the most to say about whether there is a turnover or not. And to me, it's just you gotta get the energy right. Like he looked like he was on something. He looked like me after one of these cold brews because I'm about this far away from going crazy. Yeah, that's what he was playing like. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta relax and say, "Yep, we're playing good, smart, clean football." Play like it's jazz, not like it's like metal rock and roll scream and just rip the ball wherever you want.
Play like Daniel Jones this week in terms of 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Take that, because that's exactly what Daniel Jones did. To put up 33 points, your quarterback has 1 touchdown, no picks, but almost one. that's kind of crazy, but that's also winning football. Speaking of the Twitter chat, Jay Lutz, Will Lutz's brother, says, we didn't see a pick in week 1 from the Broncos defense. We're definitely get one this week. I completely agree with you there. And then Bad Moon, scroll up a little bit, you hear, please. Bad Moon said, if we played the Dolphins, we would have been okay too. That's a really good point, Bad Moon. Would have been okay with that one. And then Carolina says, we just need to win the games we're supposed to win. So let me ask you, Henry, are the Colts on the road week 2? Everything we know about the Colts, everything we know about the Broncos. Is this a game the Broncos are supposed to win?
This is why we love our friends at Bet365. They'll give you the answer.
Vegas
1.5,
says yes.
2.5 point favorites.
Yep.
So you sure are supposed to win. If somebody's supposed to win, it's supposed to be you.
And like, there's going to be weird things that happen after this game. Like the Broncos are going to beat the Eagles
2 points right now,
but lose to the Chargers or something like that. But man, just with those next 3 games coming up, if the Chargers really have leveled up, if the Bengals, I don't know what to make of the Bengals, honestly. We'll get to talk about them in a couple of weeks. And then the Eagles, defending Super Bowl champs. Yep. Those 3 games just seem more difficult than this one. I'm not overlooking the Colts because I do think this is a good team. But, man, I think this is a game you're supposed to win. I do, but it's not a gimme by any means.
I doubt you're favored in any of the next 3.
Chargers on the road, you're probably right.
Yep. Eagles
Bengals
on the road,
at home.
Bengals
probably
maybe.
Depends on what happens this next 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then, Eagles, you're not going to be favored.
Yeah, that's tough. Also tough for a guy, Jay Lutz, in the chat. I just Googled, see if that was any relation. According to Google AI, Jay Lutz is not a person, while Will Lutz is a current Pro Bowl kicker. Blah, blah, blah.
Wow,
so bad news, Jay. You're not a person.
That is a bummer.
It's a tough break. That's tough news on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah, and he says he tells everyone that he and Will are related, and apparently you're not even a person. So
that's really tough.
I'm sorry there, Jay.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Pat Surtain really quick to round out this show. Actually, this is going to take us to the end of the show here. We might say bye at the end, but this is Pat at his foundation yesterday. This is the 3rd time that he's given to his foundation, or that his foundation has given to a school a $50,000 grant to do something really cool. And we got to talk some football with him. But before we do, Henry?
Everybody be like Jay. He's not even a person. He's part of the supporters club. You are people. You should be a supporter.
Yes. If you are a person, join the supporters club. Right. I love that.
Also, if you're not.
That's probably going to do it for us today. But we got Pat Surtain. Listen to him talk about football. Enjoy it, and we'll see you tomorrow back at noon on the DNVR Broncos podcast. Pat, take us away.
It was a big day for you and a big day for the Broncos, announcing the preferred stadium site. What did you think of that announcement, and is that your hope to play in that stadium in 2031, hopefully?
Oh, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a testament to show, our ownership group, always, pitching new levels, new heights, seeing what we could do to elevate, the team and the organization. And, I think starting that up, bringing that up, I think is huge for the team and the organization. I can't wait to see what it brings in the future. But I heard I'm going to be in year 11, so obviously there's some time before then. But, I'm a for sure look forward to it.
Pat, as we get your input, Pat, I know you guys always asked for input when you redid the practice facility. Are you looking forward to them to ask for your input for the new stadium too as well?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
What would you want to see?
I heard there's a roof on it. That's all I know, a retractable roof. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. Some will come up along the line, so we'll see.
Well, they just opened Steve Atwater's Grill on the concourse here at Empower, so you can ask for a PS2 grill in there, or PS2 lounge or something in the new building.
A little lounge, grill, whatever, hospitality room. We could for sure make something work.
Could you just speak big picture to whether it's a training facility, stuff in the current facility, the stadium, just like you mentioned, the ownership group's commitment to making sure you guys have everything you need to be successful on the field?
Yeah, I think the ownership really takes their time and due diligence to see, what the players need, and hearing voices all around, they're very open-minded into trying new ideas. And, I think with the new stadium, I think that will create even more and more avenues towards, building new things within the organization. So I think it's pretty cool how they handle every situation. And, they're top of the line ownership group. So very excited for it.
Pat, it's been mentioned Defensive Player of the Year reigning this year. You didn't give up a single catch this past week against the Titans. Do you think you've taken even a next step from Defensive Player of the Year?
I think that's just my standard I hold myself to. Every time I go into the game, I try not to give up a catch, and make an impact on the field, even though you don't see it that much on the stat sheet. But, as long as I'm holding it down, I know, this defense could be even more successful, especially, with the players I got around me. So it makes it even more and more fun.
Speaking of the players around you, Hufanga, what did you see actually getting to play a full game with him out there the way he was flying around?
It's pretty cool to see seeing him. It was like he was running around with his hair on fire, just making plays, flying around, creating turnovers, making impact plays. That's what we brought him in for. And to be able to see it, that then and there, I think it's pretty cool to see.
It's crazy. I actually think that Pat Surtain is the most likely Bronco to still be around in 2031 for their new stadium. I think others will be around like Bo and Sean, but I think Pat's the most likely.
Yeah, he'd have to be the top of the list.
Yep.
I was going through it yesterday, just saying, would he be on the team or not? You start with the old guys. Michael Burton, unfortunately, we won't be seeing the 39-year-old fullback, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
Garrett Bowles, probably not 39-year-old tackle.
Wait, don't do this now. This is a fun thing we can do.
Okay.
Maybe we dive into it tomorrow or next week. But we got a super chat to get to. And Henry, this one's your specialty, and we're going to get to it in overtime. Go to thednvr.com to finish out the show in overtime because we're digging into Henry's specialty right here over at thednvr.com in overtime. It comes from our friend Pure Lapine, who says PSLs suck, but maybe they will do it like Baltimore. Henry, what happened to Baltimore?
I don't know a lot about the specific Baltimore PSLs. I know there are a bunch of different ways to do it. One of the questions that the Broncos sent out with the survey 2 years ago was, if we repaid you your money in 50 years, would you be more willing to buy the seat license? Which is how the Rams did it, which was kind of revolutionary at the time. I think they said 50 years or when we move out of the stadium, whichever comes sooner. So essentially the team gets an interest-free loan, which means the value, typically best case scenario for the person who invests the money is like a 60% loss of value in the dollar. Could go all the way down to like 90%, depending on how inflation works. But Baltimore, so they sell the PSLs, and within a couple years, they were worth 10 times as much. So you have a $7,500 PSL. That's now worth like $75,000 because people want the rights. A lot of the time, those values stay high because if you're paying back on the back end the money. So there are perks that your investment is probably worth more. That's happened in Pittsburgh. That's happened all over the place. Only matters, though, if you're interested in selling the rights. So if you're trying to keep them, then it doesn't matter. You also have situations like the Bears PSLs where they're moving out of the stadium. And so anybody who bought the personal seat license, they don't have the payback plan, which means that the value of those, like if you want to buy a Bears season ticket, you can do it for like $2,000 a seat or less right now because there's only a couple seasons left. So if you paid the $10,000 on the front end, it is. So there's a lot of that weird stuff that goes on. I just feel for the fans. And people say no taxes, all that sort of stuff, and I get it. And there's a lot of economic data that backs up that that's rarely a good investment for the city. At the same time, though, it's tough to measure what a team means to the people of the town and the culture. And realistically, a big portion of the brunt of the cost of the stadium is going to fall on season ticket holders, which I'm very biased as, again, being in a season ticket holder family. But that means that is where the burden goes, and it doesn't go to, all the fans or the people who just buy tickets to every game. And again, it'll help when some of us get cleared out. There will never be a wait list again. It's just we are selling all of these, and now they are on the market for whoever wants to buy. Long wait list, they'll all get sold, whatever. But it's a big piece of this whole puzzle that's really going to affect, 50,000 Broncos fans at least.
Let's hope it affects zero. Let's hope the Broncos don't do this.
Yes.
We'll give you that latest when we know it. That's going to do it for us today. Shout out to Pat. Shout out to Baldy. Shout out to Henry. Shout out to you here. We'll be back on the DNVR Broncos podcast tomorrow at noon. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.